to the Book by Book, a podcast about the odd book or two we've read. I'm your host Scott, but I'm not alone. Tobie's here too. This episode we're talking about The Sundog by Stephen King, the last in his collection, 4 Past Midnight. Like, subscribe and comment if you feel so inclined to do. And you know this is going to be a pretty spoiler heavy episode, but if that's okay with you, continue on and I'll see you on the other side. We can talk at the end, I think, a little sum up of the whole anthology and brought together.
No, that's great.
Yeah, we're going to start off with, you want to take us through, or do you want me to go through?
We'll go through together.
Yes.
Okay.
Because it's kind of an interesting one.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. So what's it about? It's about a kid named, what's his name? Can you remember?
Kevin Devlin.
Yes, I remember the Devlin, but I couldn't remember his first name. Who basically requests for his 12th birthday a camera, and he gets given one of the Polaroid cameras. The original.
Right. Sun 660.
Yes, a Sun 660.
Like, we've got to remember this is an 80s book, so this camera was kind of a...
Yeah, spits out a pre-exposed, a liquid that you wave about, and then exposes the picture live there on the spot.
Right.
So yeah, they were great back in the day. I used to love them.
They always seem so inaccessible to me, like £4 a picture.
Yeah, they're well expensive.
When I was that young, that was just sort of ludicrous.
Yeah, like £15 for 20 pictures.
Yeah.
But you get
that fear of not wanting to mess up that picture.
Mm-hmm. So can I have a copy? No, you can't. Take your own.
Yeah, you'll have to photocopy it, I guess.
But they were great cameras back in the day. It was quite novel. So he gets one of those. Yeah, he's well chuffed with it. And isn't it the first picture he takes?
Yeah, he takes one then and there to test it.
And what comes out is not what he took a picture of.
No, we do find out, but this little beginning, I do remember it kind of dragged, just like, tell me what's in the picture. It really dragged it out for the whole chapter, talking about it, what it is, but not telling us.
Yes.
But it didn't feel like it built suspense. It felt quite annoying.
It did take a little while to get going. I'll give it that.
So they're in a house and they take the picture, and what comes out is actually a picture of an outside street and a white fence with no real subject matter. The theories around the family are that it's a joke camera, or that it's broken, or that
the double exposure, which they quickly eliminate because that's
or that just something's not right, but no big deal.
And the daughter pipes up and says that she thinks it might be all that. Is that a little bit later?
Does she go for the supernatural path? Yeah,
she goes down the supernatural path pretty much straight away, I think. Or it could be a ghost, or it could be supernatural.
Right.
But she's quickly disregarded, which is probably a mistake.
He does get a chance from his dad to take the camera back, but it's kind of piqued his interest.
Yeah.
And
he becomes a little bit obsessed with this picture and subsequent pictures he takes with the camera, I think, doesn't he, very quickly, which is the reason he decides to hold on to it.
Right.
And then he quickly, after a while, I think during the period of decision that his dad gives him, like 24 hours or 48 hours or something, like the space of a weekend to decide whether he wants to take it back or not, he takes a few more pictures, and he starts to become uncomfortable with the fact that the pictures he's taking are always of the same place, the same view, but the only thing that's changing in the picture is this black apparition or dog, as it were, that's sort of slowly creeping along the white picket fence, isn't it? And that starts to unsettle him and get into his skin and into his soul and start to make him doubt everything. So it's at that point that he decides he wants to get rid of it, I think.
Because we meet Pop Merrill, but does the dad talk about him now?
The kid takes a few more pictures of the thing, and it becomes clear that it's a bit weird and a bit odd, but he doesn't want to give it away, but he wants an explanation. And the father then, I think, says that Pop Merrill's into this type of thing, or he knows a bit about cameras.
Oh, okay, that's what I wasn't sure. So the dad does drop Pop Merrill into it.
Yeah, and so the kid then decides to go and visit Pop Merrill and run it past him, because he might be able to fix it, or he fixes things in the local town or something like that. So he takes it in. Pop takes a few more pictures and sees what the kid's talking about, because by this time the dog has made its way to almost like the center of frame.
Yeah, like it was slowly turning around, right? And
Started to sort of turn, and there's something familiar about an item within the picture that nobody can really put their finger on. And again, it's not really mentioned. You know that there's the kid is slightly unnerved by the fact that there's something in the picture, but he doesn't reveal what that thing is. He just says that there's something that he recognises, but he doesn't know why he recognises it.
right, like setting up a connection.
Mm-hmm. Obviously, Pop gets hold of it. Pop is into all the supernatural stuff. Offers to fix the camera, I believe.
So I thought he encourages the kid. He gives him a roll of film and says, take some more pictures and come back, but take them at this time of the day.
Yeah.
So like the further apart the pictures are, the closer it's getting. Like the dog is moving in a slow-mo, but it is moving forward.
Yeah, he takes a sequence of pictures, doesn't he? Quite a few in a row. Where he goes back with the camera and gives the camera to Pop and pictures. Pop says he'll look at the camera and look at the pictures, and then while the father and the son, well, they go away. The kid leaves. Pop does his work with the pictures and looks at the camera, decides there's something seemingly creepy about the camera and the dog in the picture, which is by this time making an even more of a turn in its circle towards the camera where these pictures are being taken from. So the holder in the picture taking pictures, and he's starting to get closer. And Pop basically has loads of connections that are interested in spiritual stuff.
Character takes a sudden U-turn, right? He's seemingly quite nice and unassuming.
Yes.
Quite sharply, he sort of drops in some racist slip about Mexicans. It all just kind of crumbles downhill about, he's just not really a good guy.
No, he's like the veneer is one of a gentle salesman.
Right, hence the name.
One just gets by on things, but actually he's a wheeler dealer, out for himself. Take everything you've got if you give it to him, and give you nothing back type of person. Which is exactly what he does with the father and the son and the camera, because he works out that this camera's worth an awful lot of money. He works out that the version. So what he does is he goes and buys another version of the kid's camera, switches them when they both come back to the shop to get the camera back off of him and to discuss what he's found about the pictures. And what he does is he takes all the pictures and puts them together in a sort of short film, and then shows the father and the son in like a back room on a video recorder of the pictures in sequence. It's like one of those flipboards. You see the dog march across the white picket fence and then realise that he's having his photo taken, turn and start marching towards the camera. And the closer he gets, the more vicious he gets, and the more unsettling the imagery becomes, the deeper it gets into your soul and starts to fester. So it's at this point that our kid decides to destroy the camera rather than try and get it fixed or anything. Pop goes downstairs, causes some kerfuffle, switches the cameras, gives the kid the new camera, and they take it out the back and take a sledgehammer to it, blow it to bits. The kid feels relieved, the father feels relieved, everybody's happy, off they go. Pop, on the other hand.
About the connection at this point?
The connection, I think they may have done it up the top with the tie.
Right, so we find out the connection is that the dog, around the dog's collar, is basically the kid's tie. A very distinctive tie that he has. Am I right that the sun dog camera was in his drawer with the ties?
Yes.
So I guess this is why the kid is freaking out. We are, like, Pop is going down the supernatural route as well. Do you remember the dad's reaction to all this?
Yeah, he was very unsettled as well. He wasn't particularly happy with any of this. Because it took a while for him to believe his son, but his son was so adamant there was something was wrong that he sort of comes round to it and just goes along with it at first, humouring him, and then realises there's actually something quite serious and very unsettling, and it's having an adverse effect on his son. And he's come into contact with Pop Merrill, who he himself had contact with when he was younger, got into debt.
So there's a big chunk of history. It goes back to when he was young and he took a loan out, and Pop Merrill just kind of extorted him. His sort of dad, I think his dad took that as quite a life lesson and doesn't trust Pop as a result, which is where I get mixed up, because did he send his son to Pop Merrill?
No, I think
Just know about him and go to him because he had that old junker shop.
Yeah.
Like, is that the reason his dad gets mostly concerned, because Pop's name is brought into it?
Right? Yeah, especially that's the reason he humours him and goes along with him back to the store and stuff like that and supports him, because he doesn't trust Pop.
Right. So we learn of the history of Pop. Camera, as far as the family is known, is destroyed, but actually Pop has it.
Yeah.
He has clients of the occult. The story drops the family and follows Pop for a while.
Yeah.
And it's quite sudden, and it's after we find out he's not a nice guy. So for me, it took a little while for me to adjust to this.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, just like we suddenly following the closest thing we have to the villain, as it were.
Mm-hmm.
And he did just burst out in despicable and bigoted. The bit that follows was kind of an interesting bit. We've talked before about the other ones where he crams a lot into a short story. And he just jumps on a jet.
Yeah.
Goes to about 4 clients who just over the years he's known to be collectors of the occult.
Mm-hmm.
And the reactions are all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
One is too scared to comprehend what it is, so wants nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
One basically is humoured, but is no interest, because I think he says, this is the most, like, you found something I never thought would exist. Proof of the supernatural, that's boring. It was just,
Yeah. I would say all 4 of them are unsettled enough to not want to have anything to do with it. No, I wouldn't say there's any mockery as such, but they're all like, that's really good. That's clearly supernatural. I just don't want anything to do with it.
Yeah.
And others are like, why the fuck are you bringing this to my house? Don't ever talk to me again. You're dead to me, type of thing.
And Pop's getting angry because he's burnt a lot of money flying around.
And with every visit, he takes a picture, and with every picture, the dog gets closer.
Right. So then I guess we cut back to Kevin.
Yep.
Who is still having nightmares.
Yeah.
Then if I'm jumping too far ahead, something doesn't fit right with him, and he realizes that when he gave Pop the camera, it was empty.
We had 3 pictures or 4 pictures left, something like that. Yeah.
Oh, okay, and then the camera he smashed was empty of film.
Yeah, it was a brand new stack of film, and the photo reader read 3.
Oh, right. So there was just a small clue that it wasn't the same camera, and he
bricks it.
Dad to go back.
Yeah.
And simultaneously, Pop has become pretty feverish. I guess the camera is becoming more and more
prevalent and
I don't know if sentiment's the right word, but it's kind of taking control of Pop and tricking him. Pop wants to destroy it now. He's lost his money and he's getting freaked out. But in a weird, dreamy haze, the camera tricks him into smashing a clock. And so he smashes up a clock and the camera still is fine.
Yeah,
and then further so, like the next day, he finds a clock that he wants to fix. And so while he's imagining fixing this cuckoo clock, he's actually putting film into the camera and taking pictures. I feel like I'm missing out on Kevin and his dad's journey here. They go to the store that sells the cameras.
Yeah.
I guess the dad's not quite sure about Pop, or he doesn't really want to tangle him if he doesn't have to.
Mm-hmm.
They basically get evidence that he, an old man did come in and buy a Sun 660 camera.
Yeah.
So the dad or the kid picks up one himself, like another spare. They rush over to Pop.
Yeah.
They can sort of see the flashing through the window. Pop is in this crazy hypnotic state of just taking pictures again and again. When they burst in, they sort of tell him to stop, and he snaps out of it, but he can't. he's sort of fused to the camera and he can't stop taking pictures, even if he wants to. Ever so slowly, the camera just starts melting and expanding and transforming. Flashes are brighter.
Yeah, starts to fuse more and more. His skin starts to boil, and
yeah, he's really stuck to it. Eventually, I guess it breaks his neck, like a flash breaks his neck. It just kind of takes him too far. Like his hands are sort of in the camera, and the camera's growing and melting and morphing. And am I right that a Polaroid comes out, and it's the Polaroid that's growing, and basically the dog is coming out?
yeah,
And it's still flashing and it's brighter, and I think it's described as it's being born. I guess it's hard to pin down the action. Like I'm not sure what the dad's doing at this point.
but the windows blow out. So I know a lot of people, the windows blow out. They're falling about in shock. Did he get clobbered? He didn't get clobbered, did he, your dad?
No, because he's shouting at the sun. So the plan, really, that the kid just instinctively knows is to, because he's got his camera ready,
Yes, that's
and I
right.
think
Yeah,
that just understands what he's going to do.
Mm-hmm. And he doesn't tell anyone else, so everybody else is like, "What are you doing? Get out of here!" He's also shocked at watching Pop fuse to a camera and melt and snap his own neck.
Right. And the dad's like, "Take the picture," because we sort of understand now that the plan is to just snap it into the next camera. But the kid kind of has to wait till it's fully out, I suppose. They don't.
It literally is out and jumping at him. This is the dog, right. So the dog is morphing out of one of the Polaroids, the very last Polaroid. It's morphing out of it, coming through, almost like a chest burster in Alien. This dog emerges, and then as it sort of comes out, and then all this time there's lots of roars and growls and guttural noises going on. All the clocks are going. Obviously, this dog comes out of the picture, charges towards Kevin, and he goes whoosh, and takes a picture, and the dog goes.
Yeah, in the blink of the flash, it all kind of stops.
Yeah,
that's the kind of climactic end, and then we get the sort of Twilight Zone twist. This is his 16th birthday, so some years later, he gets a word processor, like a computer. I guess back then, I don't know if that was a very specific computer.
Yeah.
And you seem unsure about this.
Oh, yes, I remember.
And when he sets it up, he just tests, typing like some sort of nursery rhyme.
Yeah, he jumped over the lazy sleeping dog.
Every time he types, a different word comes up. Do you have the final text?
Yes, I got it right here. I booted up the word processor programmer and typed, "The quick brown fox jumped over the lazy sleeping dog," Kevin said. Only that wasn't what came out of the printer. Mr. Devlin stood, silently reading the hard copy, so his hands and forehead felt very cold, and the words there read, "The dog is loose again. It is not sleeping. It is not lazy. It is coming for you, Kevin. It's very hungry. And it's very angry." Very last word, yeah.
And that's the through plot of Sundog.
Thank you.
I guess we can jump into thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
It feels quite heavily laden with, I guess, metaphors and what the dog represents and the debt, but without really telling me what it does represent.
I have no idea what the dog is, why it's there.
A general sense of guilt or sin, but it doesn't really tell us what. Am I right?
You're going to talk metaphorically that it's referencing something. You never get to find enough out about the kid for it to be a metaphor that relates to him and why he would be going through it. If it's the father and his death that it's the metaphor for, I don't know what it would be the metaphor for. It's interesting that it leads into needful things.
Yeah, it does, because I know he talks about it, but I haven't read it or seen it.
I'm pretty sure Pop's shop is the shop that becomes the needful things shop.
Oh, okay, like the new owner.
Mm-hmm.
Because I did read at the beginning, because this is a Castle Rock novel.
Yeah.
And he did mention that Pop is the dad or the granddad of the antagonist of The Body, or Stand By Me.
Okay.
Keith Sutherland's character is either the grandson or the son. So yeah, I guess it does split ways. Which here's the things that kind of spiked out. For Stephen King, his dad is kind of a good guy and he's got his back.
Yep.
And the kid is the star of the book. The only other one I can think of that I know that has that kind of relationship is Christine, where the parents are not oblivious or dumb or turning a blind eye. Or his novel It is quite an example of when he's writing with teens.
Mm-hmm.
Parents seem to sort of phase it all out there. There's always a feeling of that they're on their own.
Yeah.
I guess this was kind of nice. The dad really got on board.
Yeah, he's supportive, definitely.
They kind of both got on board. Like the kid really just figures out and goes with it.
Yeah.
Pretty easy. Not quite sure why. I don't know if that's the thing of the youth. Like he's young enough to believe.
Well, the daughter is instantly there, isn't she? She doesn't give a second thought. She's like, "Yes, this seems to be a family that are not too afraid to embrace a supernatural side."
Yeah, but did that feel like it was a well-written family, or the book just wanted to get going?
No, I believed them. I thought there was enough in their depth to,
Of the dark half in a way. How they get on board what feels pretty quickly that it's natural when there kind of are other avenues to explore.
Yeah.
Just kind of come across it almost as the first theory, and I guess they question it throughout, but they don't know what we know as the reader because we're getting these cutaways, but kind of with it anyway.
I thought it was the most horror of the four stories. It's probably the most horror one.
I guess body horror.
Yeah.
Riskish.
But it just had that sort of creep to it, that slow, what the hell is this thing doing? Where is it coming from? It ran throughout the whole. But like you said, it doesn't really explain who or what the dog is.
No, and I feel like we know enough about the kid. There's no hint at a dark past or what's connecting them. Somewhere there, it feels like there should be a metaphor, right? I try to find it, but I can't. It's who said this. I think it's a quote, so I'm gonna have to summarize it because I can't find it. And I think it's regarding being a parent and having kids, and it's something along the lines of, at some point, your kid is going to be the main character in his own story, and you're going to be a side character. And so Sundog feels like it's that summation, but from the son's point of view, it's about a dad who is letting his son become his character and have his own adventures and being sidetracked. Like this is their last adventure together. This is like that time. I guess when young kids. I know he's a lot older, but the instances I can think of are when kids sort of stop saying daddy and start saying dad and just sort of hit a self-realization, if that's the right word.
Lots of innocence.
Yeah, just the inquisitive changes, and they're okay breaking the rules and realizing that. Yeah, that kind of is the best I can come up with what Sundog is about for me.
Yeah, no, that's a fair shout, I reckon.
Do you think that all stories need to have metaphors though? Could it not just exist without metaphors? And it is.
No, absolutely, but it just feels like it's set up to be one. It's not a beast from another dimension. Well, I mean, maybe you could take that understanding, but the fact that it comes back, the fact that they have this history and that it has the tie is literally tied to the boy with the tie. It's going to have symbolism.
Yeah,
it seems what's it set up for?
There's all that chat as well about the fact that the pictures look flat. Do you remember all of that? Sort of like the world is very sort of no colour to it, no depth to it. It's all just very. Whereas other pictures where the same camera have got depth and colour and sort of life, this just feels like it's drained of us. So I don't know what that is, or whether that's trying to say something as well, but. That's an interesting one. I don't know what the answer to whether it is metaphorical in any way, whether it's just
is it just a simple it's a kid fearing growing up. It's that stage where like he knows that so he's 12, which I'd say is a bit young, but then this is 80s and I guess he wrote it before then and different eras kind of, especially in the States, might have a different level, like the idea of childhood is quite different in different countries.
Yeah.
Like that era of realizing that you're not going to be a child forever. and slowly one day you will have responsibilities, even though you can't really comprehend them. It's just an abstract feeling that you're going to grow up. And it could just be a simple fear of that, because I guess it chases him to when he's 16.
I'd completely forgotten about that last bit on the word processor.
Right. Like I guess it's moving with him, or I don't know, just some form of anxiety. It did feel oddly paced. I don't know why. Like a lot of books just jump character, but it's such a short novel to split off with Pop. But then when he did meet the sort of occultist collectors, that was kind of fun.
Yeah, there's some quite nice characters in that section.
I need a smarter guy than us to, like, why was Kevin's dad always referred to as Mr. Devlin? Like, he was never given a name, right? Then, because it's not because the book stayed with the kid. It wasn't his point of view, because we jumped ship to Pop Merrill. So I don't know if it's that sort of like...
He was featured enough to warrant having his own name, I guess. But...
Yeah, I mean, I guess it seems strange that his dad let his 12-year-old be the lead of this strange quest and not take it.
Yeah.
But I guess this is the rare thing in this King book where the parent has belief in his kid.
Yeah, and if it is about, leaving childhood and becoming an adult, then that is father facilitating that. It's kind of what a father's meant to do. So,
like a passage of some kind.
Okay.
Yes, so we've done all 4 of Stephen King's 4 Past Midnight. We have The Langoliers, The Garden Secret Window, The Library Policeman, and Sundog.
Yeah.
As an anthology, where does this rate in Stephen King for you?
It's not one that I would recommend going to as a reader of Stephen King.
Oh, wow. So you really didn't like it?
No, it's not that I didn't like it. I just thought I much prefer his longer novels than his short novels. I've not really... This might actually be the first complete short novel book I've read of Stephen King, because I've not read any of the previous ones. I've read a couple from Everything is Eventual, which I've...
So that's like the short stories.
Yeah, short stories. So I've read those, a couple of those, and they were good. There was one particularly about B that was better than any of the ones we read in here.
I don't know if I'm saying something good about the B story or something bad about these.
But these were enjoyable. Not one I would recommend. It's not one that I'd go back to again to read. I would put it... Oh, gosh. Well, I struggled to finish Gerald's Game. I started that when I was very young, obviously. I'd read The Dark Half, and I'd read a couple of others that I'd really enjoyed. And then I tried to read Gerald's Game, and it was so far removed from anything else that I'd read that I never finished it. But that's probably the bottom of the stack, and then this sits above that.
As a whole, yeah, I was really looking forward to this. I think it's easier if I use a music analogy. So, like, I'm a huge Radiohead fan. They kind of have these eras of how they sounded.
Yeah.
Have, like, the first 2 albums, the Bends and Pablo Honey, and that's a distinct sound that they stopped doing. They just grew or changed or whatever it is to OK Computer. And then they sort of went further with In Limbo and Amnesiac, which are super out there. So I've listened to those first 2 albums, say, with that early sound a lot. And you kind of think, well, they're not going to go back there. They just can't. They've changed. They've grown, And then I'll just find, hey, it's a 20-year anniversary or 50th anniversary. They've released it with a bunch of B-sides and singles that weren't on the album. And I love that, because you can listen to the first time new songs
from that era,
from another era. And I guess for no real reason, I
totally get what you're saying.
In so this was in 1990. This book. This was a collection of work from the 80s.
Yes, no, it's a painting there. Yeah, this edition was published in 1990, so it was before then. So you were talking 80s, late 70s.
And I'm guessing, I'm pretty sure he didn't write them all back to back for this anthology. He wrote them for various reasons, and then they were collected together for this. Yeah. So I just had a strange, like, wanting to savor it. Like, I've had a version on my shelf for quite a while. Like, I've got a version back home in the UK, and I think I've got another version out here because I just wanted to read it. And Yeah, it didn't live up to expectations. I'm not gonna lie.
I get what you're saying about the Radiohead thing, though. It's like if they released that album that you just spoke about with all the extra B-sides and all that sort of thing, and went back and brought it home and listened to it, and the music wasn't very good from that era, and you were expecting it to be that era and good.
Right.
Like you expect to be going back to early King with some of these stories and experiencing what you felt when you read books they'd written then, sort of like Carrie and The Shining, Salem's Lot.
I don't think I'd read this as an anthology again. I probably will read The Langoliers again in my life.
That's the one I enjoyed the most out of all of them.
Yeah, and it did stick out on this anthology. I don't know if he just had 4 and they were 4 for an anthology, or there were some attempt to have a connection or theme running through. I mean, as an anthology, there's a clear theme here of outrunning your past, metaphorically, and then in The Langoliers, very literally, trying to outrun the past. And the others, it's eating them up, on the inside.
Library Policeman is about looking back and repressed memories, very much so.
Yeah, that's the sort of, I guess that's the main crux, really. It almost feels like you could drop the vampire slug parts of it.
And then you've got, Secret Garden, Secret Window, which is...
Well, that's regret.
The present, isn't it?
Well, because he stole someone's story when he was young, right?
Yeah, so that's the past again.
And it's sort of catching up on him, I guess. I mean, I'm guessing if there's a theme, it's you can't kind of outrun the past. Like it finds a way to catch you no matter what. Like in The Langoliers, he was eating them up. And then in Secret Garden, Secret Window, he was created a whole new personality that was forcing him to deal with it. The Secret Policeman, the repression.
Yeah.
And was what the vampire preyed upon. And then Sundog, which was what it was.
Yeah, there's not much of a reflection in Sundog. Yeah, that's a good point. So the first 3 is definitely about repression. Sundog is about a dog.
A dog stuck in a camera. I don't know, maybe he would have been friendly. Maybe just,
Yeah, he's been stuck in there a very long time and he's hungry.
I mean, both those last 2, just off the book blurb and the title, were not what I was expecting. Even though Sundog did exactly deliver what the blurb was, I guess I thought it would be more sinister than obscure. Like the fact that it's ever so slowly turning around. I guess I thought it would be more like there's a dog in every picture he takes.
Yeah.
Isn't there? Like he's being haunted, which he kind of was, but I don't know.
I liked the slow creep, walk, turn, march towards the camera. I found that quite effective.
I guess I don't really buy why they were still interested in the camera, because it was that.
Well, again, it's the camera's trying. Well, the dog is trying to get out, so there was a lot of.
From the very beginning, when it's a picture of a fence, the kid is intrigued.
Yeah.
But there's nothing. You don't even have the dog in the first picture, or it's just.
No, not the first picture. No.
It's
kind of like Gollum in The Ring, isn't it? Yeah, so it's like My Precious, which is the same as what happens with the kid in the camera, but he gets scared to a point where he does want to give it, and then Pop takes over that mantle and becomes obsessed. So yeah, 3 of them sit within an anthology. The 4th one is a bit sort of a romance.
Okay, we're going to wrap it up around there. I want to thank you for listening and hope you enjoyed. Join us again next episode, and until then, support your local bookstores and have a great day.